Hello folks, shintigercurl here, that dude in the straw hat, presenting you with yet another wrestling review. I'm here, of course, joined by my co-host and roommate, Joe. Say hi, Joe. He likes the snow. It's Thursday night, and you know what that means. It's time for Impact. And what an impact that we have tonight. We've been getting a lot of buzz about this particular impact, as tonight we're going to find out who they number 2 are. So will it be as shitty as the they number 1? Let's watch and find out. We open with Immortal in the ring, minus Jarrett and his wife, and Abyss, who is still dead, as Eric Bischoff starts to call out Scott Steiner. Now, Steiner, of course, as everyone knows, Scott Steiner made his return to TNA earlier last week. And a little side of warning, if you think that they are the main event Mafia, then you must not haven't watched the Royal Rumble. Or if you did, you would have noticed that Booker T and Kevin Nash are now with WWE. So my guess is TNA Creative had to come up with another way to promote they, and I think you might like this one. Well, anyway, Scott Steiner comes to the ring, and him being Scott Steiner cuts a hella good promo, and he basically he called Eric Bischoff a piece of shit, which is good. Bischoff says you have 3 options: join Immortal, make this money, or don't join Immortal and we beat you down. He's like, how about this? How about I take option 3 and I don't join Immortal and then I beat you all down? Also, Bischoff took some subtle shots at Nash and Booker T for them not joining back up with TNA. It's kind of that's dirty pool, my friend, dirty pool. Anyway, Kurt and Crimson come out, and they inform Immortal that they are here. Good opening impact. I mean, there's a lot of with the main event Mafia line. The main event Mafia not being they. It could be an interesting one. I mean, this could be interesting, and it's gotten me interested. So I want to watch this. First match. It's Inc. versus the TNA, versus the Immortals Goon Squad of Gunner and his friend Murphy. And I will say it was a good match. Certainly better than the mess tag team wrestling that was on Raw this Monday. So I enjoyed it. Gunner and Murphy make a surprisingly good tag team. They just need something more to get them over, and they need some more time. They need to have some actual matches instead of just beating people down. And I could actually view them as a threat. And Inc. looked like a very good team. They looked like a veteran tag team. So kudos for them. Winners, Inc. Let's see. Backstage, we have the Immortal having a little powwow session to determine what they're going to do. And good news, Hogan isn't here. I'm glad for that. And for some reason, Ric Flair isn't there. And I kind of wanted to hear what Ric Flair had to say. I mean, a promo between Flair and Steiner, that would have been gold. Alright, let's move on. They go to a segment where Eric Young comes out, and he's rambling crazy, and he says that he saw they, but he won't say who they are because he's scared that they will kill him. And he runs off thinking that he just said it, that wasn't a live segment. You know, Crazy Eric is crazy. He's a little bit more enjoyable than Santino. I like Eric Young. Alright, moving on. Also, we get some vinaigrettes into the lives of the Jarretts between Karen and Jeff, and I gotta say, it's rather, like my friend's been saying, it's boring, it's disturbing, embarrassing, and just tasteless. I mean, they're just flaunting the fact that this woman cheated on Kurt Angle with this guy and married this guy. One of my friends online said it best. This is getting Katie Vick levels of weird. It's just something that would be that everyone can do. You just take one look at it and be like, okay, I don't want none of that. I'm out. I don't want to do it. Next up, we actually get the Pope and Bully Ray in the ring, and they actually seem, I don't know, I like them together. Don't ask me why. They seem to mesh. It just seems right. I mean, don't ask me why. It's one of those things that you just don't question. What is it? They both cut great promos. Bully cut one against against his partner Devon, and Pope cut one against Samoa Joe. So the match starts, or if you could call it a match, it's a tag match between Bully and Pope versus Joe and Devon. And I say it would be a tag match until Pope and Joe ran out the ring and tried to confront each other, but for some reason Joe called out some guy who looks like Kato from the Green Hornet. I don't know. It's just tacky. I mean, Joe doesn't need anyone to kill people. Anyway, Bubba and Devon are beating the ever-loving hell out of each other. They're beating each other outside the ring, inside the ring, and at one point, Bubba spits on Devon's kids. Wow. And I'm saying this right now. I think TNA is trying to do their own version of the Steen Generico feud from last year. Two successful tag team broken up. One being an overwhelming evil bastard, and the other one just trying to get his life back together. So it could be good, but we'll just see how TNA handles it, because I don't know. Okay. Alright, moving on my notes. Blah blah blah. Next we get a TNA X Division tournament 3-way match between Douglas Williams, Jay Lethal, and the other Buck, Jeremy. This was a good match. Very high paced, very well executed. Williams was not outpaced in any way, as he should, because he's been in the X Division. He knows, he's adapted to it in sort of a way, but he's kept his little technical wrestling, so to speak. Jay Lethal's still great, but at the end comes when Douglas Williams hits the Chaos Theory on Jay Lethal. Max Buck distracts the referee on the outside. Jeremy breaks up the pin and gets the pin. So 1, 2, 3. The other Buck moves on. Good match, just the way I like it. And from what I understand, it seems our good friend Suicide will be returning in this tournament. Don't know what to say about that. Let's see. Okay. Let me see. Next we have a sort of talking segment, a promo with Anderson and Jeff Hardy. It was great. I mean, and it was great. Anderson took some subtle shots at both Jeff and his old company of WWE, and he said, "Well, they told me they were telling me how to dress, and I told them 2 words. I told them 2 things. Number 1, supper's hanging, and number 2, you can kiss my ass." And I liked it. Jeff again was trying too hard to be the heel, telling people to shut up, and it's just like he was trying but not really succeeding in being the heel. And he can proclaim, and like I said before, he can proclaim that he's the Antichrist of pro wrestling, but we know the real Antichrist of pro wrestling. His name is Mr. Wrestling Kevin Steen. He's a sick fuck. All right, moving on. The next match is kind of weird for me. It's a knockouts taped fists match between Sarita and Mickey James. It's where both knockouts heavily tape up their fists, and the only way to win is to knock the other person out cold. Now, a lot of people like this match, saying it was alright. I didn't personally. It just seemed to drag on. I would prefer them do just a straight up wrestling match. It would be better. They're both good enough to do it, but this kind of gimmick doesn't work for me. Sorry. I mean, if you like it, it's okay, but me myself, I don't. So there's that. Okay. We get more Karen and Jeff. Let's keep moving. I'm scrolling through my notes. Blah 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 blah. Okay. I think we are at the. Okay, we're at the last match, the title match. Now, during his promo with Anderson, Jeff said that he would beat him straight up with no help from Immortal. No help. And so backstage, he told Eric Bischoff not to send Immortal out there, that he'd beat him on his own. So the match starts with Jeff hitting Anderson from behind during his big entrance, and the two of them just have a brawl. It's a slightly above average match. It was decent and good, but I just still don't like Jeff Hardy. So anyway, there's a ref bump, and then Jeff, going back on his word, calls an Immortal, and all of Immortal comes into the ring. Well, all of Immortal that was there, they come into the ring. Gunner and Murphy take their shots at Anderson, and Jeff and Fat Hardy gives a side effect to Anderson, and it looks like AJ's gonna gonna go for a punch, but he goes up and just stops and says, and then all of Fortune, the Beer Money Cast and AJ jump Immortal and beat the living hell out of him, and then AJ gives Jeff the Styles Clash. I'm glad I see a Styles Clash. I haven't seen him do the Styles Clash since his match with Douglas Williams. So it was good. So they push the ref back in the ring. They pull Anderson on top of Hardy. 1, 2, 3. Anderson wins, retains the belt, and then afterwards we get one of the best promos I've seen all year from TNA. AJ picks up the mic and he says, "Well, guess what, Bischoff? Fortune is they. They are us." And they're joined in the ring by Kurt Angle and Scott Steiner and Crimson, and he goes on to say, and Eric Bischoff tries to sell damage protection, like Jeff Hardy is better than you ever will be on his worst day. Like, really, as the Miz would say, really. Jeff Hardy pretty much, I mean, AJ Styles pretty much said everything that we in the internet wrestling community have been saying about TNA since day one of last year. Since Bischoff and Hogan first came into the company, they've been spending money all over the place on shit they shouldn't have been spending money on. They've been hiring wrestlers who had no business being in TNA. I'm talking to you, Hardy Boys. They've been putting down the homegrown talent. Hell, they took away the six-sided ring because wrestling doesn't take place in six sides, brother. And they threw away the TNA World Title in favor of that Divas Megatron looking bullshit that they call a title belt now. Anderson has said he wants the title for only the prestige, but having the title itself means nothing because that belt is fucking horrible. And Joe agrees with me. And as much as Bischoff tried to sell it, Immortal looked really, really weak here. I mean, they just lost almost all of the title belts in this one single event. And what makes this swerve so great is that they have a legitimate gripe, a legitimate reason for swerving like they do. I mean, Fortune, before they joined Immortal, was one of the best heel groups in professional wrestling. It had nothing but young, up-and-coming, awesome superstars. And they were forced to play second fiddle to people like Jeff Hardy. I'd be angry too. And AJ pretty much said, and Bischoff said, well, we came in here, this company wasn't anything. I mean, we make successful companies. And AJ's like, motherfucker, you ran one of the best companies in the entire industry into the ground. You sent $1 million company into bankruptcy. You really think I'm gonna let you do this to my company? Fuck that. And I was just jumping up and down. Yes, yes, preach AJ, preach brother, preach! And Impact ends with Fortune saying that they're gonna take out Immortal. My verdict, I can't believe I'm gonna say this, but this was actually a good Impact. Considering the lackluster Raw we just had, this was a good Impact. The matches were good, the promos were good, and the swerve at the end about who they were was great. I mean, I'm glad Booker T and Kevin Nash jumped to WWE because I like this day more than the day they were going to bring in the Main Event Mafia. And I was like, well, who gives a fuck about the Main Event Mafia? But Fortune swerving and going on their own, I can get behind that. This is a stable war I can actually love. Don't get me wrong, I'm a fan of Core versus New Nexus, but Immortal versus Fortune, I can only get behind that. I enjoyed that, and I enjoyed the promos by both Scott Steiner and AJ Styles because they were saying the truth. Hogan and Bischoff did run WCW into the ground. They did bankrupt that company because they're wasteful spending and hiring people that they shouldn't have been hiring, and they're doing the same to TNA right now. So somebody had to say it, and I'm glad it was AJ Styles, the true face of TNA. So that's my verdict. Watch this TNA. This one will get me to watch TNA again. So I'm enjoying it. So thumbs up for me. What do you think, Joe? He thinks Bischoff's a piece of shit too. Well, that was Impact, and that was my verdict. So go ahead and watch it. Go watch it if it's online. And so tomorrow, see you tomorrow on SmackDown. But I'm not even sure if I'll be able to have power by then because of, well, we're getting a rare blizzard down here in Houston. So I'm not even sure if my power's on. If my power's on, or if my internet is working, I'll give you a video and my thoughts on SmackDown. But if not, I will see you on Monday for Raw. So until either Friday or Monday, this is shintigercurl, that dude in the straw hat, and Joe, saying goodbye and wrestle on.